Hi und herzlich willkommen. Ihr habt es vielleicht schon am Intro gehört oder am Cover gesehen. Das hier ist ein bisschen was anderes, bisschen was Neues. Und zwar launchen wir bei Talk Between the Towers ein neues Format. Und zwar spricht unser Geschäftsführer Matthias in regelmäßigen Abständen, ungefähr monatlich, mit Leuten aus seinem Netzwerk über aktuelle Themen, die ihn so beschäftigen. Das Ganze heißt Lunch mit Matthias. Und das hier ist die Premierenfolge. Die haben wir im April bei der FIBE Berlin aufgenommen. Hört gerne mal rein. Die Folge ist jetzt noch auf Englisch, weil wir bei der FIBE auf Englisch aufnehmen durften. Und in den kommenden Folgen dann auf Deutsch. Gerne auf euer Feedback gespannt. Viel Spaß. Hi and welcome at Talk Between the Towers. I'm Dennis, I'm your host today. And as you can hear, we are speaking in English. So special episode. We are live at FIBE 25 event in Berlin, and I'm here with Matthias and Andreas. Nice to have you guys. This is also the launch of a special format because our managing director Matthias will now have a regular podcast format where he will talk with some contacts of him. So Andy, you're your first guest today.
Couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Totally honored.
So I'm Dennis, I'm host for the people here listening at FIBE, but Matthias and Andreas, give a quick introduction about you guys first.
Yeah, thanks very much for the invitation. I feel very honored to be your first kind of counterparty here for the podcast. So my name is Andreas. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tenety. We are originally Swiss-rooted spin-off from the Swiss Stock Exchange and operate a FinTech ecosystem globally. We're a VC on one hand, so we invest into early-stage startups targeting finance and insurance. And on the other hand, we also help incumbents like banks, insurance companies to find the right startups on the market to innovate. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing.
Great.
Yeah, so Matthias, I'm very happy to have you on my first episode, actually. Managing director of neosfer. I mean, most of you who are listening to us know us, the early stage CVC and innovation unit of Commerzbank. So maybe let's say as what you have been in the past and now let's say moved in the independency. So what we do is investing in startups, but also building solutions, always with a view on what could be new innovations for Commerzbank, driving financial services in the end for an added value for our customers.
Great. So we named this whole session Crazy New World, what this means for the FinTech-Segment. And tomorrow this morning in the opening session, we got the recommendation to not say Trump and tariffs. Won't be easy, but I'm trying. One news that shook the fintech market a bit this week was that Klarna is postponing its IPO.
Yeah.
And Matthias, whenever I did a presentation or we did a presentation in the past few years about the current landscape, we were like, yeah, fintech is on an upwards trend. IPOs are coming back. Klarna, eToro, great. And now we have this news. How are you looking at it? Is it over-exaggerated, or is there, like, in a few weeks Trump will take it back and then everything will be cool again, or is it really a big shock for you guys?
Well, I would not underestimate the, let's say, signaling that comes with that announcement, actually. I think the whole VC market and fintech especially was, well, hoping / expecting to opening again the IPO, let's say the exit markets, because I mean in the end it's not only IPOs, it's secondaries, etc. And everything was more or less dried up over the last years. And for the market, we need, let's say, vital exit markets. And giving the announcement now, I expect this will harm it and will, let's say, extend the reopening till, well, no expectation, no, let's say, assumption about that, but it will take more time, which is definitely a negative signaling for the whole market because the exits are, well, less able now.
Yeah, definitely. So I see maybe two views on the IPO and Klarna. I think there's a tactical element, obviously. I mean, it's pretty clear for Klarna. I would not do it right now because it just simply doesn't make sense in this, very uncertain market environment. So tactically makes sense, but it also, shows a little bit the problem we drag along since quite a bit, since the drop of the market of 50%, after like the kind of, I would say, situation where we had a lot of capital around. It's actually, there are not a lot of IPOs in the pipeline. And I mean, they were at least brave to announce it, right? And there are others probably cooking that in the back, but they never really considered to do it. So there's actually a lack of potential IPO candidates. Also a lack of those who really disclose that there is a possibility to do so. So now that window is gone now with this uncertainty, which is bad, which just prolongs kind of the time. We thought like, the market is going to recover. And I think this was a bit unrealistic to say, right? It takes just more time to recover from that big drop. And eventually we're still in the same situation as we were like last year.
Yes, it seems so. And actually,
like even that, situation we have now is, it's one kind of little effect we have, but it's not really the real root problem we have.
Yeah. And also, I mean, the Klarna is now the very prominent one, but beginning of the year, we had a panel with the guys from Andreessen.
Mm-hmm.
Even before Trump, they, not officially announced, but said, okay, this year it's not the IPO market. It may be next year. So I think it's also a trend that we see in grown-ups, VC-backed companies, that they tend to be even longer in private markets and then go IPO really when they are completely convinced that this will be a success. Also, let's say, driven by the experience of other IPOs in the past. Yeah, but is that also something that a VC has to adapt? Because I mean, as a corporate VC, we are a little bit more flexible, but as an independent VC, you have to provide returns for your investors, and there is a specific time period for your fund. So there maybe is also a push into more kind of public secondary markets, things like that, because in the end there has to be liquidity going back to the investors. So maybe also a general shift of how VCs have to think about exits.
So Andreas, you talked about the root problem. Can you quickly sum up what the root problem is and how to fix it?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say what the fix is, to be honest. But
please do it in a short way. Yeah?
If I could do it, I would do it. Right? No, but I mean, it was just over inflated what we have, like with the negative interest rate, with like the just capital available on the market, where there was a lot of inflation in the valuations, right? And that correction needed to come. So for me, there was no surprise. I mean, you see this pattern when you look back 20 years and so on, like .com and so on. So it was clear that the correction comes. So then also you can look at, historically how much time it takes to kind of recover that. And we're still in this recovery period. So from that perspective, I think the solution to the problem is probably patience. And venture capital is actually patient capital. So it's not like a short-term gain you can do. And obviously we all as VC want to have, liquidity, and time to liquidity is a super important thing because we have these 10 years closed-end, fund cycles and so on. But the reality is it takes long, right? It takes long, and we need to work on, improving the situation, especially in Europe, in terms of the very fragmented, capital market situation, and also like the liquidity situation we have. But it's actually just a reality. So we need to stay patient a bit. And that's why I'm not so extremely concerned about what happened this week. It's not good for, globally, for the global economy and all of this. So no question about that. But for the asset class we are in, it shouldn't make a big difference, because otherwise we start to think very short term again, which I think is the opposite of what we need to do as venture capitalists. At least in my definition of what we need to do, it's patient capital.
Yeah, maybe it's also then kind of knowledge transfer to the LPs that also there the, let's say, payback of liquidity may take longer.
Yes, Matthias, some weeks ago, something you mentioned to me or to the team quite a lot was that Andreessen Horowitz is now backing off in Europe.
Yeah.
Is this also linked to the structural problems we just talked about?
Maybe you should ask those guys there. I mean, I think, what I saw what they did is they closed down their London office and moved the team back to Valley, especially those guys focusing on crypto. and all the businesses around there. And I mean, given the push that someone in the White House, don't have to say name. I mean, there was a big push on crypto coming from that statements and from that, let's say, ideas of what he's wanna achieve there. So from that point of view, I think it makes sense, definitely. And I mean, still Silicon Valley is a very vital ecosystem with a lot of dynamics there. Nevertheless, maybe also given the last few weeks and what happened, let's say, between America, Europe, China, maybe there is a chance for Europe to be a let's say market where you can trust the players. Also in the VC market, which not so much of uncertainty about what's going on the political side. So from that point of view, well, I don't see the need to go to the States for new VC investments from our side, because Europe is there, Europe is stable. So there's some turmoil. Nevertheless, I also see a big chance in what's happening in the last 2-3 weeks for Europe in the long term.
Andreas, before you answer, I want to add an additional question, because you said that from the VC perspective, and I have this also in my book here as a question. Imagine you have a startup in your portfolio right now, and that's really successful, and thinking about internationalization, and they have on the long list going to the US. What would be your view on that, or your sentiment right now if the startup wants to go to the US? Is it because it was a no-brainer, but right now these are questions that might be interesting?
Well, I would not say it was a no-brainer. It's never a no-brainer, actually. So, I mean, I've been there, or I was there, I think, 3 weeks ago. And in the end, it was, well, we still do business. I mean, there is someone new in White House with some uncertainty. Nevertheless, we're focusing on business and we're focusing on making money. So unless you're not a GovTech, I don't see any reasons why you shouldn't go to the US. I mean, yeah, there's some kind of uncertainty, but nevertheless, there are a lot of people out there want to make money, want to do business with Europe. So, yeah, why not?
Yeah. I mean, the playbook of a high-growth startup is that eventually you go to market in the US, right? So that's what's happening. So a lot of European startups, successful ones, they go to the US and eventually they are successful there and then they exit. And I think this is going to stay because the US market is still the most attractive one. There's, capital availability and also, but it's also very, very much a red ocean. So it's not easy to get in there. So the opportunity cost is rather high. So if you're not a high growth startup or maybe something like a little bit below, then I would maybe also look at maybe alternatives like Asia or maybe Middle East or something like that, which a lot of founders don't do. Which we also try to encourage them a bit, like look for alternatives. But this is also have nothing to do with the current situation. Yeah. I think there is a failing government institution in the US, right? From my perspective, but there is a country which is still the same, which it used to be like 3 years ago. It's a big market. It's very attractive. You need to look at it. If it makes sense, you go there, you find investors. It's the playbook of the high growth. Alternatives is good to look at. It can always create some opportunities for Europe because we become maybe a little bit less independent. It puts also some political pressure on Europe to maybe make our countries and market more attractive to scale here, mobilizing capital, all of this, which we have a problem. But nevertheless, if I would have a portfolio startup who fits into the US market, I would not say don't do it just because of the current situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so the hope for European startup founders now would be that people do really choose German and choose European products instead of you going to or having a look at startups.
But I think it's totally unrealistic. I mean, look at the digital stack we are using. And I would like to go out here and do a little survey with all the startups and those who are building stuff. Which of those don't use any American tech just to make it happen? It's no one. It's either US cloud, it's infrastructure, it's, everything is coming from outside of Europe. I think this is a structural problem we can't solve just within a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's clear.
And even if you actually dedicate like 700 billion for that, it's maybe a nice announcement, but you need to make it happen. So the question now, when can, the European Union get to a kind of digital sovereignty? When it's about infrastructure and so on, it will take us 10 years, right? And it's a bit the question, how realistic it is. But I think it's probably good to look at certain, areas where we can maybe, build something even better, what we have already in that stack, but it will take time. So realistically, I mean, there's some, I think from Bertelsmann Stiftung, they have a very nice overview. I saw that at an event yesterday where they showcase a little bit on the different layers. And you see like, it's just crazy, right? It's all foreign tech we are using here.
Yeah. Only because there's someone new in White House, the structural deficits we have in Europe are still there. So, I mean, with that, nothing has changed. So in Germany, in terms of capital, in terms of, let's say, growth rounds are still financed, especially by US-backed funds and not by the European funds. So all those kind of structural things, there are some, for now, nice announcements and very big numbers. We want to invest. But as you said, still announcements. So maybe there is now a bigger push coming from that side to, let's say, make it really happen and not only telling about it, but that's to come. So let's see how fast we can adapt and let's say do some kind of reformation in Europe. Yeah.
But let's also stay a little bit optimistic, because obviously we tend to be a little bit pessimistic and we see like there's huge dependency. So actually there's no solution to the problem. I think what we need to do is just, start doing it, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of very good initiatives going on, right? It always can get better, conditions and more support and so on. So we need to also fight for getting that in Europe. But I think at the end of the day, it's just less talk and more do.
Yeah. I think we tend also to let's say, do us a little bit, take a little bit smaller than we are maybe also are. Yeah. So it's always, okay, we look into US and there's something strange going on and now we will suffer. Well, Europe is a vital player in the world. Yeah, we have some deficits. Nevertheless, it's a very big economy. And if there's something going in the States, okay, that's not good for us. But nevertheless, we are strong enough also to overcome that or even, let's say, play even bigger role in the future. Totally agree. Yeah. So.
Okay. Andy, you just said we need to get going. From the top of your mind, if I ask you which area you would tackle right away, is it payment infrastructure? Is it own cloud services in Europe? What would you say is important, and where do you see good steps in Europe? Are there some reasons for hope and positivity?
I would fully focus on security, cybersecurity, trust, because that's something which is not really well covered from foreign tech. I think there's a big area, big opportunity space where we can actually also build something which the others don't have, right? Maybe because of the legacy we have in Europe. And that's something where I see a lot of opportunities instead of just trying to copy what we see and then, replicate that here. I think this is super hard because, if you look like how much money flew into R&D and for cloud tech and all of this. I mean, this is not just easy to copy. And then, it's more of the same. And then the question is, why should actually people change? So we should focus on new areas. And I think like security, which is super important for Europe, also to get the independency, is something maybe I see on top of my mind if you ask me what's the priority. And AI obviously plays a crucial role into that because it's a technology which on one hand obviously helps those people who attack you, and on the other hand, it's also that maybe one of the solutions to prevent those type of attacks and make the system very stable. And I think this is essential for us here, that we have a really stable and secure infrastructure, because that's the base for everything. And then we can start to replace certain things and maybe also leverage technology and the talents and the universities and the R&D centers we have in Europe to maybe become more independent.
Maybe, although it's not an investment focus from our side, what I see is the whole manufacturing side of Europe. Lagging a little bit behind, yes, sure. But nevertheless, I mean, last week it was ESA Aerospace, we have Marvel Fusion, all still in an early stage. Nevertheless, there is so much knowledge about heavy manufacturing and bringing those, let's say, 150 years of experience. And I see, let's say, over the last 5-10 years, also kind of mind shift in those big corporates, bringing those together with the trust and the, let's say, the very, very precise work that we do in Europe, together also with new technologies with AI. I think we don't need a own AI model, but let's use it very wisely. There's a huge leverage. And bringing this together is also, from my point of view, a very big chance for Europe to step up again there.
Yeah. And I think at least what I heard, the Marvel Fusion example shows that we can also raise quite big amounts of money in Europe alone. So this critique that's often raised is not true in this particular example.
Please not look really in the last step where the money is coming from, but nevertheless, yes, definitely. And also, I mean, pushing that is still something we need to do, but nevertheless, very good signs.
And if you want to create these more of these cases where eventually you have like in the growth stage, like, or, even early, bigger funding amounts, etc. We need to work on top of the funnel. And I think a lot of people just saying, there are too many seed funds around and, like early stage investments going on. We don't need that. We need growth capital. But the point is, if you want to have attractive cases to invest into growth, you need to have a lot of choice, right, on the early stage. So that means it needs more seed capital as well, because you need to create more companies because it's a numbers game at the end of the day, right? And the more we do there, the higher the chance that we get more of these growth cases, which really, make a difference. And that's kind of part of the value chain. You need to work on the whole value chain and not just on one piece.
Yeah, I think that just to add, that is also a part. I mean, coming now with the program of startup factories, etc. I think it's let's see if it will be successful. But in general, I think that's really right direction. Yeah. So compared to the States, I think where we really can get better is how to bring innovation from university into, let's say, monetization and business models. I mean, that's also nothing new, obviously, but nevertheless, still there is something to do. And I mean, there's now more political initiatives like the startup factories, where the idea is to bring together, let's say, the universities and the companies in a specific region to push that, which is, from my point of view, very crucial. Let's see how successful we could be there. But this then will also lead to more top of funnel, because more things coming out of university with the mindset of not doing or building something very fancy, but building something where you can make money out of it.
Yeah. But this is also a good point, because what I also noticed, and we are back to this whole US situation right now, in the last weeks, there were some reports that, especially in the research area, some professors and people like that are already having doubts if it's right for them to stay in the US. And I think there were also some cases where people couldn't go back to the US because of some new measures taken. Is this, and I'm not sure what you are hearing in your fintech networks and cycles, is this something people are looking positive at, that more talent is coming to Europe because of living standards and all of that? Or is this more media news or noise than real life examples?
I could say from the scientific world, I think there is a case.
Yeah.
Because it's just, let's say, the basis of the daily work is gone because the budgets are gone. And then you have to think here, what am I going to do? And if then there is some, let's say, attractive offer from European universities, I think there is an angle where then people would say, okay, I'm going to move because I want to continue my work there. Also, maybe then a transfer of mindset into Europe, which would be great. When looking at the fintech and startup side, actually, the ecosystem in the States, if I'm currently in the States running a startup, I don't see any point why I should come to Europe. I mean, their ecosystem there is still vital and bigger than in Europe. I mean, growing the business is still, if I'm already there, easier there than here. So why should I move?
Yeah, from a research or academic point of view, I think it's nice if we get, talented people coming to European research institutes or universities. I mean, that's great. But if you look at a little bit, what the problem is here is, I'm based in Switzerland, so we are still the number one kind of innovator in terms of filing patents and, bringing inventions. But the problem is those are not commercialized, right? They remain papers, which is actually a pity. And that's actually what US does much better, right? They have these, interdisciplinary ecosystems around the universities where you have like entrepreneurs and researchers working together. It's fancy to, spin off something to start a company and then get funding and so on. So I think there we have a problem. You mentioned that before. I think there's political will to change that. It needs a lot of parties, right? It needs the industry, private sector, it needs universities and so on to work on these kind of models to make more out of the research we do. So if there's more to come from the US and more, we would just put us, even higher in the ranking. We're already number one, but I think it doesn't solve the problem of the commercialization and great companies out of that.
Yeah, we should avoid the situation where the researchers coming to Europe, doing nice research, finishing their PhD, whatever,
go back to
and
the US
then going back to the US and start the company there. That would be the worst case.
That's by the way already happening with Chinese students.
Yes, yeah. Sure.
I had many Chinese other students there. Yeah, so we get the sign that we have only 3 minutes left. So let's come to the last question, and this is I'm trying to spread hope and positivity. So, what FinTech segments are you currently optimistic about, or that have your attention? I know the answer from Matthias, I guess, but
so then you should start.
Okay, that's it. These predictions, right? I think it's so difficult to predict.
Not really a prediction, but something you are personally really excited about.
As I said before, I'm very excited about like the cybersecurity space. That's something which is so key for the financial insurance industry to protect that, because there's so much fraud. And I mean, it gets so easy, meanwhile, to create these campaigns, how you can actually, it's a sector which is very highly attractive for, criminal people.
Yeah.
So I think that's something which I'm very excited about, because with the, technology, I think we can solve certain things in a different way. So that's interesting. Besides that, I think we still, are looking at what's happening in the tokenization space. Beyond crypto, how can you make this whole thing more efficient? This includes stable coins for me, because it's also something which I think is now becoming more a reality in solving some problems, cross-border payments and so on. This is then also, again, related a little bit to cybersecurity when it's about KYC and all these topics. That's still, I think, on. It's still not fully solved. And the third one is we can create, a different type of interaction with customers, with this conversational, AI capabilities and so on. That's very exciting. So I think a hard time for SaaS startups, a good time for agents, for AI agents. So that type of thing I'm excited about, but I'm not sure about the business models.
Okay. Matthias, is it not open banking?
Yeah, so exactly. In addition to what you said, I mean, the thing is, with embedded finance and open banking, I'm a true believer. And so far, I mean, there are first steps, but not the real cases I want to see. But nevertheless, and yes, I have to mention FIDA in that podcast, because that's what I'm praying the last, 9 months in neosfer. I see definitely a huge potential there, because in the end, I truly believe the customer don't want to get any banking product as a banking product. You want to get a financial services in the in the chain of your pure product that you want to have, a house or moving from A to B, something like that. And there you need to have then to do it kind of financial service. And PC3 with FIDA, there is a lot of potential coming up. A little bit of pity that is coming by regulation and not by, let's say, the banks itself. But okay, now that's what it is. But with that, I mean, we talked about having a car being a wallet, yes? So, and to be able to pay with your car certain things is just a beginning. And having a full transparency over the customer, which is in the end the goal of FIDA, there's so much potential in it. So it's not a use case right now, but it will be. And I'm, as you know, very excited about it.
Yeah,
that's a very German idea, huh? Making a car a wallet.
Yeah, but
it's so German.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we are in Germany.
I'm sorry that I need to drop, but now we are really over the limit. So thank you for your insights, and I'm really curious to hear your next guest, Matthias. So thank you, Andreas, for being the first guest, and to all listeners, you will hear more from Matthias soon.
Yes, thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.